Hey there, my name is Tommy PVS. Thank you so much for joining my webinar tonight. This is really cool, and I'm so excited that my organization, DC Hopefuls, can present Indiana Launch, a statewide webinar for all of you in Indiana. Huge shout out to the universities in your state, your career center staff, your faculty. I just kind of blindly reached out to them asking if they would tell you all about this webinar, and so many of them did. So that's why we have such a great turnout tonight. So huge props to your amazing staff. You guys are lucky to go to some pretty cool universities. I'm a big fan of Indiana, have family there, so I go to Indianapolis a lot, so this is fun for me as well. And really quick, I should have started with this. Can you all see me, and can you hear me? And if so, just type in the chat box over here so I know that. Okay, cool. Looks like you can. Great, just always want to check. And also, if you're going to have questions tonight, I definitely want you to ask questions. Go ahead and type them in there. I'm going to wait till the end, though, to answer them. I think that will probably work better. So I'll talk for a while and then block about 10 minutes out at the very end. I promise we will not go more than an hour tonight. So if I do not answer your question, please don't be offended. I will personally email you an answer to your question. That is a guarantee I try to always make. So let's go ahead and get started. Enough jibber jabbering. How to launch a career in Washington, D.C., Indiana, or anywhere in between. That's what we're going to talk about tonight, and we want to do it without years of heartache and disappointment. It sounds pretty simple, but I assure you it's not. But that's the key. How do we go out, have the life and career we want, but how do we not be miserable trying to go out and get it? And before I go any further, I think it's really appropriate to introduce you to Elliot Cole and Brianna Suggs. They both filmed a short little video for us tonight, which was really nice of them. They are young professionals in DC who I've been able to help through my organization, and their stories are really cool. So this first video they made for you all is kind of where their heads were at when they were when they were hearing this stuff maybe for the very first time, and kind of where they were thinking. And then at the very end tonight, I'll show you videos of them of where they are now, and I think you'll think it's pretty cool, or at least I think it's pretty cool. So anyway, I'm going to show you these videos really quickly, and we'll come back to me and we'll get launched into this webinar.
Hi everybody, my name's Elliot. I remember meeting Tommy back in 2015. He was at the University of Arkansas. I think it was his first conference call that he did to really talk about the DC Hopefuls program and how he really wanted to help students get up to DC. I remember thinking, pretty much all of my college career that I wanted to move to DC, and I thought the best way to do that would be to apply online, go through the generic process, have an interview, and then hopefully get a job after that. And I really had no idea about networking, how to present a really good resume, and Tommy really changed all of that for me.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Bree. I remember when I first heard Tommy speak on campus, I think I was a junior or senior in college. And my plan up to that point was that I would go to graduate school, probably still in Arkansas or another regional school, and I would get my master's degree, and that would just set me apart and put me in a really good place to go to Washington, D.C., that I wouldn't really need to do much work, that a master's degree would speak for myself. And when Tommy came to speak on campus, I remember him saying that just being in a place like Arkansas or just getting a master's degree alone is not going to get you to D.C., and I remember thinking, okay, what do I do now? And that's kind of where I was, and that was my plan. And when I realized that alone wasn't going to get me to DC, that's when I knew I wanted to talk to Tommy and get his advice and help.
All right, thanks Bree and Elliot. That was really cool of them to record that for me and that I could share that with you guys. And we're going to actually go back to them at the end. So thank you all for taking your time and joining my newsletter. I hope you guys have enjoyed the emails you've been getting from me. I promise I'm not going to overload your inbox or anything like that. I like to send out about a weekly email with just tips and advice that I love giving out to all the hundreds of people on our newsletter. So what I want to start today's conversation with, or presentation with, is the idea of value. And when you can learn to make other people feel valued, you're going to have a very successful life. And the only real way to make another person feel valued or show them value is to either give them money or give them your time. And once you figure that out and that clicks in your head, things are going to really play out well for you. So remember, the only way you can make another person feel valued is you give them money for their product, or you give them your time. You sit down with them, you have a conversation, because honestly, time is way more valuable than money. What does a dollar really matter? But an hour of our time, that's a big deal. So I want you guys to think about that as we continue forward. Another thing I want in the back of your head as I'm talking is, here at DC Hopefuls, we focus on people over jobs. The rest of the world's obsessed with what job am I going to have when I graduate? What job am I going to get? What internship? But what you really need to focus on is people, and when you learn how to make people feel valued, the jobs and opportunities are just going to come your way. Look, there's no magic here. There's no magic weight loss pill. This is going to be healthy exercise and healthy diet. Meaning to say, I'm not going to show you some trick that you can go do in an hour and everything's going to come true in your life. I'm going to teach you how you can put your energy and hard work in the right places and get the best results. Your failure is not your fault. I know a lot of you are on here right now because maybe you feel like you're failing, or you're scared you're gonna fail because you don't really know what to do with your life. You're studying hard in school, or you've done all the right things, but you don't really understand where your future's headed, and it makes you scared. You feel like, I might be failing, and that's not your fault. Because you can succeed, you just haven't been shown how yet. Because I know you haven't, because I've helped hundreds of people just like you. Your dreams are not crazy. I used to think, man, my dreams are nuts. Yeah, I really want to work in national security and counterterrorism and things like that, but that's crazy. Who am I? I'm just a kid from Arkansas with average grades. That's crazy. But it's not. And your dreams aren't crazy. No matter what you want to do, your dreams aren't crazy. But the odds are against us. I don't want to downplay it. It's not easy, because remember, what we want to do is really cool. It's cool stuff, and it's going to change the world, and therefore it should be hard, because if it was easy, everyone would do it. And the odds are against us, guys. I want you to read this email. Hand to God, real email. I got it on March 25th, 2013. It says, "Good morning. Thank you for the interest and application for the staff assistant position. Our office received over 700 applications." I will never forget getting this email, you guys. I just stared at it for probably 20 minutes, and I thought, what am I doing? At this point, I had been in DC for 4 years. And here I am applying to a job, competing against 699 other people. What am I doing? This can't work. And I remember this was a key moment in my life where I said, okay, I got to figure out what really works. And you're probably having similar suspicions. You're probably smart enough to have had them way earlier than I did. But your suspicions are right. The world doesn't work that way. Do you really think the best jobs, the jobs that you really want to have one day, you really think people are getting those by applying online and just beating out 100 other people? No, your suspicions are right. I got an email pretty recently. It was kind of perfect for this webinar, and it was a college sophomore who had found my website, and he sent me an email, and he said, "I'm about to apply to an internship for my U.S. senator, but just sending in a cover letter and resume feels like I have no chance." And his suspicion was very, very correct. See, for me, my biggest fear in life is being ordinary. You can call me a jerk, you can call me a million things, but calling me ordinary, that would hurt. I never wanted an ordinary life or an ordinary career. And you don't have to be ordinary either. You can live the extraordinary life that you want. And what I have learned is that the difference in ordinary and extraordinary is just a little extra. And I know that's a cheesy play on words, but it's so true. I am not going to tell you to do anything wild or crazy. I'm just going to tell you how to do the little extra things that make a huge difference in your career, and especially in a town like this. Now, the most common excuses I get for people who want to work in national security, they want to work in local politics, they want to go to law school, they want to do all these really cool things, but they just don't think they can. They say they don't have the right GPA. Tommy, I didn't go to a very good school. Or, I didn't have any internships in undergrad. Or, I'm too shy to go meet the right people. Or, I don't know anybody in DC. I don't know anybody in this field. Who am I? Well, none of those things matter, and that should really excite you, because I didn't know that for a long time, that none of those things matter. And that is why I created DC Hopeful, so you can figure out what does matter, because I want to help people like you, because I was you for many, many years. I want you to launch the career of your dreams the right way by doing what has worked for decades in a way that works for our generation. Yeah, I'm saying our generation. I know I'm like 10 years older than y'all, but it's close enough. Let's not get technical here. And the results are pretty amazing. You never apply online again. You'll never have to write another stupid cover letter or attend one of those awkward job fairs. I hate those. And more importantly, what this is all about is avoiding years of heartache, disappointment, failure, and career setbacks, all of which I had to experience, and I don't want any of you to have to experience that. There's two schools of thought, and I fell into both of them for the longest time. I thought, well, as long as I work really hard, America's fair and it's this great place and it'll all work out. Just put your head down and work really hard. And then I realized, well, that's not working. It's all who you know. You can be a total idiot. It doesn't matter if you're good, what you do, as long as you know the right people. And both of those schools of thought are wrong, but they're also both right. Because the reality is it's hard work to know the right people. I want to teach you all how to work really hard so you do know the right people who can help you. But it just doesn't happen all by itself. And when I was in y'all's situation, I wanted something like DC Hopeful so badly. I was struggling very bad. Because I don't want you guys to judge a book by its cover. Yeah, you look at me now. I'm the senior intelligence analyst on the lead 9/11 case. I mean, there I was, this kid in Arkansas, rocked by 9/11 when I was 13, 14 years old. Couldn't believe it. And it was just something I read about and watched all the time. And yet here I am now, going to Gitmo, involved deeply in this case now. I mean, how crazy is that? But I used to be this guy, and there's still a part of me that is this guy. This is me and my sister when I moved up to DC in 2009, and I was an idiot. I was clueless and about to make so many idiotic mistakes. There was a lot of grease on the window, and I don't want to go on and on about my story, but I was lucky enough to get a job right after undergrad in DC, working at the Pentagon. Jackpot, right? Well, the problem was this job was in workplace disputes. It wasn't what I wanted to do at all, but I was too much of a baby and just kind of arrogant to really appreciate what I had and this opportunity and the ways to grow, and I made a lot of dumb mistakes, and there was a lot of grease on the window, and what that means is there was a shuttle that I would take every day, this free shuttle to the Pentagon, and I was literally so distraught, I couldn't keep my head up. I would put my head on the window, and I sat in the same seat every day, and the grease from my forehead, I swear to God, created a permanent stain on the window. That's how sad and pitiful I was for 2 years. Because what happened was when I joined the program about 8 months into it, they said, hey, this program's going away. Now, I was able to stay there 2 years because that's how government works, but I was distraught because I thought, okay, I got to go find something else, and what first seemed exciting, cool, I'll leave here, I'll go work at State Department, or I'll work more in intelligence and other cool stuff, real national security, I'll go do it, I'm going to grad school in DC, I have the clearance, life's good, I'll do it. Yeah, well, 120 applications, 0 interviews. That was over about 6-7 months, and I was devastated. 120 applications and not to get a single interview, I thought, what am I doing wrong? Oh no, maybe everyone's smart enough to know I don't really belong. I don't have the grades, my parents aren't connected, maybe this is finally catching up to me and I should have never moved up here. Over 3.5 years, I would end up applying to over 300 jobs. Soul-sucking stuff, guys. It resulted in 4 interviews and only got me 1 terrible job offer that I had to take, and it was the worst 18 months of my life. It also equaled total heartache, failure, and a loss of self-worth. It was really tough, you guys. But something changed in my life. I started figuring out what worked, and I made a conscious decision to apply what I had figured out would really work, and the result was amazing. So I went and ended up working on a political campaign, and when that campaign ended, in a matter of 12 weeks, I landed 14 interviews, and none of which I had gotten through an online application. No online applications, 14 interviews, ended up getting the job of my dreams. I got an intel analyst job at Homeland Security, Domestic Nuclear Detection Office, doing really cool intel top secret briefings to senior leaders, going to the White House, CIA, FBI. It was awesome. It was really, really cool. It was a great job. And the ironic part now is the grease is gone, because now as the senior intelligence analyst on the 9/11 case, I take that free Pentagon shuttle all over again. My life has come full circle, and there's no more grease on that window, because when I go to work now, I'm excited. I'm sitting up, ready to take on the day, because I'm doing what I want to do. I'm making the money I want to make, and life is so much better because I figured out the things I'm about to tell you all about. And the good news for you is I want to tell you guys about it, because when I was at my lowest point, I was running right here across the Key Bridge. I was jogging, and I just stopped in the middle. I looked up in the sky. I said, God, I'm stuck. I have terrible anxiety. I'm stressed. I feel like I don't belong. And if you'll just show me what I need to do, how this town really works, what I need to be doing, where to put my energy, I promise if the light comes on for me, I'll share it with other people because this stinks and it shouldn't be this hard. And that is kind of where DC Hopefuls was born. I just didn't know it yet. In 2014, when I landed that Intel analyst job I just talked about, and I finally felt like I had kind of made it, I ended up getting a LinkedIn message from a young guy who went to my alma mater. You know, to make the story better, I should remember who he was, but I honestly don't. But I remember talking to him for about an hour on the phone and telling him what I'm about to tell you all. And he introduced me to a friend who also needed some help. And all of a sudden, one conversation turned into 2, turned into 20. And I was fielding a call almost every day from someone just like you, people from across the country who wanted advice. They desperately needed to hear from somebody who had done it. And it was awesome, but it was also really time consuming. And therefore, DC Hopefuls was born. I created a website to share this information with you all and also to set up a platform where I could address you guys like this through a webinar and go find you all so you wouldn't have to just know someone to find me. So here's what I would tell people when they would get me on the phone and say, Tommy, I want to work on Capitol Hill. I want to work in environmental policy. I want to work in national security, whatever it is. I want to go to law school, grad school, whatever. This is what I would tell them. I would say these are the 3 big secrets that you got to know. And if you can figure these things out, you're going to make it. Secret 1 is I would show you how you can skip ahead of 99% of your peers. I'll show you that in a second. The secret 2 is how you can build a professional network right now because you need one right now. And then secret 3 is how to find the jobs, internships that are not on job boards and land them with never applying, often despite not being qualified. More plainly, you got to look within, you got to look out, and you got to bring it all together. So we'll talk about number 1, how you can skip ahead of the 99% of your peers who think they don't need help. See, I was ashamed of the help I got. And just like 99% of people, I was aimlessly applying online. See, I was very embarrassed that my first job at the Pentagon, I got it through a fraternity brother. He worked there, and he said, hey man, you know, I'm about to graduate. Why don't I hook you up with this job? And I was eager to get it, but then I was all embarrassed. And I thought, I don't want anyone's help. I'm going to apply online because my degree is amazing and I'm super and I want to get this job all by my big boy self. And that was a really stupid way to look at it because help is a sign of strength, not weakness. When you go and you get the right kind of help, that should tell the right people that, hey, you have a lot of strength. You're willing to, suck it up and learn and get advice and help from people who know how to do it. And this led me to go out and uncover the dirty secret. I went and learned people's real stories over their DC stories. See, when you first move to a town like this, everyone is their LinkedIn profile. They went to the best schools, they have it all together. They always look great, blah, blah, blah. But what I learned was when I went out and talked to a lot of people, and it was almost like a research project. When I was at my lowest of low, I started just going and getting coffee with anyone who would talk to me. I talked to probably 50 people. And what I learned was that everyone struggled. But the successful people that I was talking to would point to these definitive moments when they went out and they got help. Because they didn't come here knowing all this stuff. They went out and they learned it from other people and they got the help they needed. And that's when I began developing the steadfast spirit. The steadfast spirit is kind of a mindset. It's this idea of being steadfast, being solid, knowing that everything isn't going to happen in a day, and having a very positive, upbeat spirit about it. And this is how I landed 14 interviews in 12 weeks. You don't have to do any of this. You can show strength by getting help. You don't have to go out into the world to learn these lessons because I already did. You can end the aimless I'm sorry. You can end the aimless applications and develop a real plan. I mean, I don't know about you, but I bet where you're at right now, it'd feel really good to have a solid plan out in front of you. This will put you ahead of 99% of young professionals because 99%, and I could prove it with how many people I've talked to who've come to my website, 99% of people, even despite that, think they don't need help. They think their degree is enough. They think if they apply enough, they'll get there. Because you're already ahead right now of, I would argue, 90% of people. Where are all your peers? I promise you, this was emailed out to hundreds, if not thousands of people in your state. They knew today they could be a part of this, and they're not. They probably think they don't need help. They didn't need to hear what I had to say, and life is going to tell them these hard lessons that I'm telling you. So basically what I'm saying is, why not learn it here instead of going out and learning it for yourself? So the big takeaway from secret number 1 is just understand that you need help, and keep that in your back of your mind, and try to get help from as many people as you can. When you get that spirit about you, you've already figured out most of it, because most people don't think they need help. Okay, and the way you go get help is you go out and you build a professional network. That you will use for the rest of your career, the next 40 years, and it will be easy as talking to the people you love. If you are shy, have social anxiety, or you just stink at small talk like I do, you can still build a really strong professional network, because we've all heard it's not what you know, it's who you know. But the common excuse is network is intimidating or something to be done later. People never think they need to be networking. They always think, well, when I get there, or when I graduate, or when I'm in my first job or second job, I'll just start networking there. But that's not the right way to look at it. Because degrees, internships, recommendation letters, language skills, computer skills, whatever you want to say, none of them are going to be as valuable as having a strong professional network. And the first step to getting a strong professional network is having a strong networking resume. Because the question you want to ask yourself is, does my resume open doors or does it close them? Here's an email I got on March 22nd of this year. It said, hey, Tommy, I just wanted to let you know I recently interviewed with the office of, and I won't say which congressman, his summer internship in D.C. The staffer I interviewed with said I had the best resume she had seen of all the people who had applied for the job. It is important to note that she did not say I was the most qualified or impressive resume, but rather the actual layout of it demonstrated a level of professionalism that merited an interview. I appreciate all the advice you've provided with the resumes through DP Hopefuls. It really pays off. Remember Bree? Bree has a really cool quote on my website. I'd love for you guys to go check out the full quote, but the highlight is, because they liked my resume so much, they wanted to hire me right away. A resume is so important. Having a strong professional resume is going to get people's attention. When you get introduced to someone and they're going to grab coffee with you, hop on the phone, if your resume is sloppy and it's not professional, they're not going to take you seriously and they're not going to want to help you. And when it is and it's strong, man, people are going to want to help you, because you know what? You take yourself seriously, and they can pass that really strong resume on to other people, and that's how you're going to get amazing opportunities thrown at you. A resume can also shut doors. Unfortunately, mini-me. So this guy reached out to me about a year ago, and he was like mini-me. Same high school, same college, same fraternity, same major. Holy crap, how do I not want to help this guy? Reaches out to me, says he wants to work in this really specific office, and I was like, you're never going to believe it, man. We have a common fraternity brother who works in that office in DC. Dude, you are so sad. He's like, oh my gosh. I was like, yeah, man. I'm going to make an intro on email. I introduce him. The common fraternity brother says, great, nice to meet you, young guy. Send me your resume. He then calls me up. He's like, have you seen this kid's resume? And I looked at it and I thought, oh no. It was so bad, you guys. It was so unprofessional. And he couldn't help him. And he had to write back and said, I'm sorry. I can't put my name behind this piece of paper. I would love to help you out, but you haven't taken the time to set yourself up. And that was a tough thing to watch. Many struggle to build a network. Building a network is hard, and you got to have that strong resume to be the foundation of going out and doing it. And a lot of people struggle at networking. So they want to build a network. They want to meet the right people so they can find out about opportunities. So they start at the end. They'll send a random LinkedIn message or an email, or they'll go to an awkward event. So they say, I want to work at the State Department. So they go send a bunch of strangers these messages. And then they're shocked when these strangers don't want to meet with them. It doesn't work that way. You can't go start at the end. You have to start at the beginning. And that is what I call the peer-to-peer contact snowball. It is, if you take away anything from what I'm going to tell you today, I hope this sets in. It is the peer-to-peer contact snowball. What you do, what I have done, and what the people in my fellowship have done to have successful careers is you start with the people you love. Start with the people you know absolute best in your life. Every job I've ever gotten, I can trace back to a groomsman in my wedding. That's where it started. So no matter if you are shy or have social anxiety, you can have the deep professional network you need to succeed, and you'll never talk to a true stranger. Because What you do is when you start with the people you love and you let them know what you want, they have people for you to talk to. And, it's not exactly in your field, but you get a little bit closer. And I have seen it 100 times. And what I'll talk to you a little bit about is how I can show you how to do it, but it snowballs. In a cartoon, when you get the little snowball and it rolls down the hill and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, that's how you build a big, deep professional network, is through other people as it grows out from the core. And your core is the people already in your life. I promise it works. We don't have enough time right now to go into too much detail about it, but that is the big secret. And then the third secret is how to find the jobs. Okay, so I know that I need help, and I know to go get that help is through professional networking. And I know the key is to start with the people I love, not start at the end. I gotta have a strong resume. But how do I find the jobs that aren't on the job boards? How do I find those really good opportunities, those cool internships, that great job in my field? How do I go find those? And the problem is, the reason you aren't is because people aren't giving you the hardcore facts. And this is going to hurt a little bit, but you need to hear it because no one wanted to tell me that you have no real hard skills. If you're a liberal arts major like me, we don't have hard skills. You probably have very little real world experience. How could you? Most of you on this are still very young. Hundreds of people could do the job you want just as good as you. And that's not a diss on you, it's just a fact. You are competing against hundreds of applicants. In fact, 22 million applications were set on USA Jobs last year, and it resulted in 100,000 full-time hires. That's half of 1% of applications for government jobs resulted in a job. It is hard out there, and it is a numbers game. But here's the dirty little secret, and I have heard this from so many people and read it multiple places, that 80% of jobs are never posted online. And rarely would you want those jobs anyway. Because if a job's posted online, that's already telling me, gosh, this job posting's either fake because they already know exactly who they want to hire and they're just meeting some HR requirement, or B, why would I want to work at a place where they're so unconnected in their field that they need total strangers to apply? People in the know must know better, and they must have a hard time keeping people. So even when you see a job online, you should be skeptical of it. But there's good news, because managers are skeptical too. They don't want a bunch of random resumes, I promise. They want someone to come recommend it to them. As a manager, that is what I want. If I'm bringing someone onto my team, I want to know they're legit right away. I don't want to read through 250 resumes. And that's why you need a career investor to tell you about these opportunities before they are public. And that's where the peer-to-peer snowball contact creates career investors. Because it is better to have 3 career investors than 50 contacts. See, I stunk at networking too, even when I figured it out, because I just wanted to meet as many people as I could. But I wasn't building real relationships with them, and they weren't helping me get actual tangible opportunities. Do you really think I'm the most qualified person to be the senior intelligence analyst on the Lead 9/11 case? Of course I'm not. The only way to find the real jobs that will never be on a job board is through career investors. And that's how I got the opportunity I've gotten, not only here, but at other places. It's building those relationships with people and getting them to make introductions and advocate for you to the people they introduce you to where people know to think of you when they hear of amazing opportunities. So more plainly, remember, you got to look within. Okay, I don't have all the answers. I'm going to need other people to help me. You got to look out. Okay, I got to go. I got to meet these people, make these connections, but then you got to put it all together and manage it and make these people feel valued, make people become invested in your career, turn them into career investors so they will tell you about the opportunities that other people don't know about and put you at such a huge advantage over everyone else. And this is what I told about 100 young people in 2015, 2016. And 95% of them acted like their age. So I'm building up, this fan base, if you will. That's a weird term, but people who were calling me, as I talked about earlier. 95% of them acted like their age. I never heard from them again. I would talk to them for an hour. I'd look at their resume. 95% of the time, easily. Never heard from them again. They didn't think they think they got their help, or they, whatever. But 5% wanted more. There was 5 of them. 5 people I talked to in over a year who just kept coming back for more. They made me feel invested in them. They wanted my help, and I just felt a part of their life, and I didn't know what to do. So let me ask you all a question. real quick. Are you excited about what I've just shared with you? If not, totally cool, but I'm willing to bet a lot of you are pretty excited about this stuff. And if it's okay with you all, I'd like to spend 5, maybe 10 minutes showing you what I've created to help you implement all of this and much, much more. See, I have created everything I wish someone had made for me. I kind of call it the Weight Watchers for your career. Because, yeah, it's important to know to do diet and exercise. Yeah, we kind of know that. But sometimes we need people to show us how to diet and how to exercise. And sometimes we need to be around other people who are also struggling with weight loss and build that community. Weight Watchers, they're definitely onto something. Because there are no magic pills or instant fixes in your health or your career. Exercise and diet is common knowledge, but a lot of times we don't know how. There was a time in my life when I said, yeah, I eat fruits and vegetables because I love fruit roll-ups and fries. And that's a joke, but sometimes you have to know how to do the right things. That's the point I'm trying to make. And this is how I felt when people told me, oh man, just get out there and network. You got to stop applying online. Get out there and network. And I thought, I don't know how to network. I don't know how to build a contact snowball. I don't know how to make career investors. I don't know how to do these things. And just because I knew what worked, I didn't know how to necessarily do it. And that's why I created a 16-module crash course. It is a step-by-step on how to launch your career, and I call it DC Bootcamp. It starts at the beginning, like we talked about earlier, resumes. I teach you how to build one of those amazing resumes like the people we talked about earlier. Because a bad resume costs me money. This is really embarrassing. I spent $550 on a professional resume writer to help me with my resume, and it cost me the best opportunity I'd ever had. I'd met this amazing guy. We sat down, we talked. I'd met him through a friend. And he said, man, send me your resume. I'm going to make some amazing intros for you. And I know of a couple of opportunities I think you might be a great fit for. And I sent him this $550 resume. And he wrote back and said, I don't know what this is. I can't send this. This is just weird. Send me your real resume. And I didn't know what that meant. So I sent him my original resume I had been using. And he wrote back and said, hey, I really wanted to help you. You're a good guy, but I think you got some learning to do. This is not a resume I feel comfortable sending around to people. I was devastated. So in DC Bootcamp, you're going to learn the importance of a resume. You're going to learn how to create a good resume. You're going to learn how to create a great resume for networking and what types of resumes to create because we have more than one resume. Resume writing is a skill set you must develop. You can't pay someone to write it for you. I learned that the hard way. This is something you're going to be doing for the rest of your career, and it is a skill. And I don't want you to be a dope like me and spend $550 on some professional resume writer who's then going to cost you opportunities. You'll end up with multiple resumes for all situations. That's why we have multiple resumes. And then modules 5 through 14, so the first 4 are all about resumes. It's all about networking. I am going to teach you how to build an awesome network. You get in the right mindset and really understand networking as a vital skill to land and succeed in the job once you get the job. I teach you how to start your network by starting with the people you love, how to maintain, which is important, and manage a network, very hard, and how to convert a contact and make them into a career investor so you can get those opportunities. And then I teach you how to find the jobs and get in the leads that never make it to those online job boards. And I also teach you how to learn when the best time to network is. And how being on the other side of the table can really help you grow your network. And then we end with some self-management and goal-setting skills. A lot of times I get some people and they're really awesome at networking after I've taught them, but they don't know how to put it all together. They don't know how to manage themselves and set proper goals so they can achieve what they want. So we hit that very hard at the end. DC Bootcamp is for anyone who is serious about starting a career the right way. It works for anyone who takes themselves seriously. I don't care if you take my course seriously. If you take yourself seriously, this is going to work. And it doesn't matter what your GPA is, what major you are, what your family's income, if you're shy, or if you aren't sure what you want to do yet with your life. That doesn't matter yet. As I went out into the world and learned everything, I made cheat sheets, guides, and templates for myself. These are the things I've made for myself as I learned all this stuff, and I have cleaned them up, and I have them for all of you guys as well. So people who get DC Bootcamp, they get all of my guides and templates as well. So the real question is, do you want to start succeeding today? A year from now, you may have wished you started today. That's one of my absolute favorite quotes. I love quotes, and that's one of my top ones. It took me over 4 years of total heartache and disappointment and failure to learn these secrets. DC Bootcamp and the tool belt, all my guides and templates, is my way to share those secrets. But success can take some time. And building my professional network of 30 to 35 contacts, probably 6 to 8 references, 4 or 5 feedback friends, and 8 to 10 career investors, it took hundreds, I might argue thousands of hours. What if I said today you can instantly have a professional network based in Washington, D.C. and across the country who instantly want to help, listen, and give you insight? I would have lost my mind for something like that. So hence why I created it. DC Hopefuls Fellowship. This is an online community of people just like you. Day one, you have instant career investors and feedback friends because you've joined a community that shares ideas, opportunities, struggles, and advice with each other. The group is housed in a simple Facebook group to maximize interaction, sharing, and access to me. We have a resume bank where once our resumes are great, we share them so other people can look at them and see what they like. We have a group roster so you know day one everyone's backstory, what they're looking to do, and who would be the best for you to connect with first. We have monthly events, which are awesome. We have happy hours, always fun for those in DC, but a lot of our members aren't in DC yet, where we also have support groups. So we call in, those are in person come, but people across the country call in. And we vent and share. We share about what's frustrating us, what's got us down, what's got us stuck, and we talk about it because so many people are just like me where the people in their life don't really understand what they want to do. They don't get why they care about politics so much. They don't understand why they want to work in national security and why they care so much about the environment or children's issues. And this is a place to come and talk to people who do and vent and get things off your chest. It's very therapeutic. And then my favorite thing is we have workshops. So we have monthly in-person events, and we do online webinars for those who can't make it in person. And we talk about subjects that don't get covered in DC Bootcamp. For example, we did one on professional etiquette, and I had 12 really impressive professionals write in and give me all of their gripes and complaints about millennials and their bad professional etiquette, and I turned it into a workshop. We did one on time management last week. We did one about interviews, like all these other things that continue to come up. And the good news is, if you join DC Hopefuls Fellowship, we'll talk about in a second, we've recorded all of those. So there's a whole online thing called Career Catalyst. It's like a course you can take that covers all of these topics as well. Ordinary is easy, but extraordinary is really lonely. And I want to create a place where extraordinary people don't have to be lonely. So who is this group for? Who are the people in DC Hopefuls Fellowship? It's for anyone who has that burning desire inside of them. I was flooded with posers who wanted quick fixes. Remember that 95%? These people who would call and they expected me to go out and do this for them, that I would have some magic potion that would just give them the career they wanted. So DC Hopefuls Fellowship is how I determine who values themselves enough for me to then value. It started with the 5% and me doing Skype calls. So when I created DC Hopefuls Fellowship, it was those 5 people. It was just the 6 of us doing these Skype calls, and I was teaching this stuff, and it has really evolved. It started with Will McConnell, Mark Cameron, Casey Lovett, Kaylin Craig, and Elliot Cole, who you heard from earlier. These were the original 5, the OGs. I started with them, and it has blown up into something truly amazing and unique. And if you are hesitant to apply, because we do want people to apply to be a part of this group because we want to keep growing it, but if you're hesitant, let me ask you a question. Just think about this for real quickly. We're almost done, I promise. What if I'm right? What if you really wouldn't ever have to apply online again? You don't write cover letters and you're not the type of person who goes to job fairs because you're a well-connected professional. Do you think it might be worth it to give this a shot? Forget about landing the job you want and breaking into your field, which would be awesome. Imagine really having the skills to become the well-connected, savvy, successful person changing the world for the better every single day. What would that be worth? What kind of time and money investment are you willing to make in yourself? Membership does carry a monthly fee as your investment, but here's what you get. You get the DC Bootcamp. If you want to go on my website and buy it, it's $160. Totally free. Anyone today who signs up. My tool belt, you can buy it from me, all that stuff for $50. Free as well. And the DC Hopefuls Fellowship membership, for people who sign up, it's $45 a month. And I throw in the bootcamp and the tool belt. You get 1 week, a free week trial of the fellowship. It's totally free. So you sign up and you get to try it out for a week and see if you like it or not. You can cancel anytime. There's no upfront payments or anything like that. What we judge people by is heart, spirit, and attitude. We don't care about your GPA, your internships, awards, family name, money, etc. My first webinars were total busts. See, I've done a few of these in the past, and it was bad. And I'm embarrassed to say this, but when I first started DC Hopefuls, I did a webinar, and 3 people signed up, and only 2 showed up, and then they both signed out in the middle of it, and I just stopped in the middle. And I quit DC Hopefuls that day. I said, this is dumb. Nobody wants to be a part of this. And luckily, this was right about the time I had started the fellowship, and I think I ended up getting a phone call that day from 1 or 2 of the original 5, and it lifted my spirit. So needless to say, I'm really stoked to see this many people in a webinar today. It's pretty awesome, and I was so excited to see how many people signed up. So I wanted to say thank you all. So one of the ways I want to say thank you for just even logging in today was I wanted to write a book. And I was going to create this book, and I was going to send it out to you all. Until this happened. So this is Eli. This is my son. And he wasn't supposed to be born until the end of August. And I had taken July 4th, 5th, and 6th off. I was going to have fun on the 4th, and the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, which ended up being a weekend, I was going to really sit down and write this book. I had all the material. I was just going to put it together. I told my wife I was going to spend 40 hours in 4 days and write this book. And then as the fireworks were going off on the 4th of July, my wife's water broke. And this little guy was born 8 weeks early, and my life got flipped totally upside down. So I have not had a chance to write a book. So I kind of scrambled and thought, what else can I offer to people who signed up for my webinar? So I came up with these 3 gifts instead. Number 1, I'm going to waive the application or the interview process for anyone who wants to join DC Hopefuls Fellowship. Because my theory is, if you are watching this webinar, you're still here with me, that I know that you know what it takes. You have the right spirit, the right heart. You're willing to learn. You're already taking help from someone. So I'm going to waive that whole process. And for those who sign up today, you're going to get Career Catalyst. This is nowhere on the website. I alluded to it a second ago. You can't get it anywhere else unless you sign up through this webinar today. And this is my 9-lesson crash course on accelerating your career by succeeding in your job. I'm going to teach you how to prepare and excel in interviews, how to negotiate a salary when you have no experience or any leverage. There's multiple lessons on thriving in the workplace. For some of you guys, working in an office is going to be brand new experience, and there's a lot of landmines out there that I'm going to help you avoid. And then I'm going to teach you a whole bunch about professional etiquette based on the advice I got from these 12 amazing professionals. And then we're going to talk about how to goal set in your job so you kick butt at that job you get. And then we're going to talk about how to network really well while we're employed. These 9 modules were inspired by fellowship workshops and is free only to people who are on this webinar right now, and you can't get it on the website. So this is my gift for anyone who decided to join this webinar and sign up for the fellowship. You're going to get this also. So this is new. Most people haven't even watched it yet who are in the group. This is very, very cool. And then I think the one you're going to like the most is I'm actually knocking off 23%. So instead of charging $45 a month, if you sign up through the webinar, you'll get it for $35 a month, and that's for life. I'm never going to raise the price on you guys or anything like that. So there are people who have signed up through the website and they pay the $45. But if you have watched this webinar and been a part of this, I really, really appreciate it. And I want to take off $10 a month for you all. And what I don't even have on here is what I finished about 2 days ago is I also have a new lesson series about graduate school where I go out and interview people who've gone to graduate school in DC and kind of teach you guys how to apply to grad school and how to approach grad school and decide whether or not it's right for you. So that's another thing that's not even on the slide deck that I'm also going to include. So you get DC Bootcamp, my tool belt, and the fellowship for $35 a month. You get the Career Catalyst for totally free. So basically, if you think about it, for less than a can of soda a day, you'll get an instant network, in-person events, and over 12 hours, it's more than that, it's like 14 or 15 hours of video instruction that you can't get anywhere else. Nobody else is out there doing this stuff, I promise. The type of person on this webinar, you all, this is who I made DC Hopefuls for. You are who I had in mind when I made this, and I want you to be a part of this experience with us. So as I end it and I'm about to take questions, you have two choices, and they're very simple choices, and there's not a wrong choice, but you can be like me. You can do it all on your own, and you'll likely be successful, but only after you make a ton of mistakes, heartache, and setbacks, and eventually learn on your own the stuff that I can teach you here. Because choice two is much better. You can risk $1, which is actually not true. It's actually free. I used to charge $1 for the first week, but now it's free for the first week. So there's no money risk. Try it out. Just put a few hours into it this first week and see what you think. Don't be the guy waiting 5 years to stop smoking. I listened to a financial podcast, and the guy said, well, I don't think I need life insurance until I stop smoking in 5 years. And I just couldn't wrap my mind around that. Why if you have this bad habit, if you want to be healthy and better, why would you wait 5 years? If you want to have the career you want, why would you wait another day to start doing what works and what's right? I am capping this group soon. I'm not going to let it get too enormous. I want it to remain personal and close. So it's not something I would recommend necessarily dragging your feet on. If you had the courage to begin, you have the courage to succeed. One of my other favorite quotes, and then another great quote, your future is decided by what you do today, not tomorrow. Another amazing quote by one of my favorite authors. So I'm going to play another video for you all, and then I'm going to take some questions.
So after I joined the DC Hopefuls Fellowship, I went through some of the modules that Tommy created, and it really opened up my eyes to really what it takes to get to DC. Having a professional resume, networking with people in DC, and that doesn't have to be in person. That could be over the phone or via email as well. So I really took his classes on board, went through them all, and now I'm in DC. I have a job in DC. I recently got promoted as well. And I can link all of that back to Tommy. He really taught me everything I know about networking in DC and getting work here as well. So I would definitely recommend signing up for the fellowship, and I look forward to seeing you in there soon.
Hi everyone, it's me again. After I heard Tommy speak when I was telling you a few minutes ago, I realized that the entire plan that I had for myself was not going to get me anywhere close to DC. In fact, I didn't know if grad school was going to be in my plan anymore at all at that point. And I remember Tommy being patient enough to talk with me and encourage me to sign up for DC Hopefuls, the newsletter. And from there, just talking with Tommy, I signed up for the DC Hopefuls Fellowship, and I had access to these incredible modules that helped me break down the process of networking and how to network successfully and how to build a strong resume. And it made all of the difference for me. And I remember I took Tommy's advice and I started networking from Arkansas to try to get to DC, which was a little hard, but I was able to find a friend's sister who had worked up here in DC, and I started forming a mentorship relationship with her. And eventually she reached out to me saying that an old organization that she worked with was now hiring and asked if I would be interested. I applied to the job and I got it, and that's what brought me here to DC. And it doesn't stop there. Getting to DC is only half the battle. You have to maintain your network. You have to keep your resume really strong, and that's another reason why the fellowship is great, because I have all of these feedback partners that can provide me constructive criticism on my resume or help me network and just to help me grow as a networker in general. And because of that, I was introduced to the company that I'm at now, which is actually putting me in my desired field of national security. I am really grateful to DC Hopefuls and the network that I have, because it's provided me the opportunity to grow, and without it, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
Okay, another great video from Elliot and Bree. I hope you guys really enjoyed hearing from them as well, probably more than from hearing from me. So I really hope you all consider signing up for the fellowship. I hope you do it right now. You can see it right there in your box. All you gotta do is click a few buttons and sign up. It's that easy. And like I said, you get a free week, so there's really no risk at all. And remember, I started this webinar by saying the only way we show value is with our time and with our money. So what do you value? That's really what you got to ask yourself. What do you value? And if you value your future, making an impact in this world and having a life that's extraordinary, I think I've created something that can really, really help you. So I hope you decide to put your value of your time and a little bit of money into that. So, all right, with that said, I'd like to take some questions. We went way longer than I meant to. I apologize. Let me take some questions. There were a lot I saw coming in. Okay, here's one I want to answer. And, you guys don't have to stay around for the questions. If you guys are tired of my face and tired of my voice, I don't blame you. But I'm going to answer a few questions, and then, like I said, if I don't get to it, I promise you'll get an email from me. One of the questions I got, and I want to answer this because I get it a lot, is I don't know what I want to do. My interests are kind of general, I think is what it said. I get that. A lot of people, I was the same way. I still don't know exactly what I want to do. I love national security kind of generally, but there's not one specific job I'm just dying to have. And a lot of young people say, hey, I'm into politics, but I don't know if I want to work on Capitol Hill or what I want to do, or they have very broad interest, and that's okay. I actually think that's a good thing because the way I teach it is the opportunities are going to kind of find you. And if you have your heart set on one very, very specific thing, you might be a little disappointed. And it also helps you talk to a wide array of people because what you'll learn when you network is it's good to talk to anybody. You would look at me on LinkedIn and think, well, I want to work in renewable energy resources, so I don't want to talk to Tommy Peavyhouse. He's a national security. But what you wouldn't know is that my best friend is a huge lobbyist for an alternative energy company. So I would be a great person to know. So the point is you want to be networking broadly anyway because you never know who knows who. And so sometimes it's okay to have a really broad interest. So when you talk to that person on Capitol Hill, that's what you talk to them about. And you say, yeah, I'm pretty interested. I want to learn more. So don't beat yourself up that you don't know exactly what you want to do, because I don't know exactly what I want to do either. I don't think very many people do. What your 20s are all about is figuring out kind of what you don't want to do. One of the cool things about networking is you'll hear about jobs people do and things, and you're like, oh, I don't want to do that. I thought I wanted to be in the Foreign Service until I met 3 or 4 people in the Foreign Service. And I was like, I don't want to do that at all. That is not what I want to do. And I've had that with many other examples where I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. Unfortunately, I've had to work at some places where I realized, oh, I don't want to do this. So in a way, you're going to kind of narrow your list. So your list may be very big right now, and over the years, you're going to narrow it. But please don't let that be something that stresses you out or you worry about. Let me see. I like this question. It says, what can I do as a sophomore to get to DC? And I think the implication is, you haven't graduated, you're not ready for a full-time job. I think there's a lot of things you can do when you're still young and on school. And obviously, I would say signing up for something like DC Hopefuls Fellowship would be great, because if you learn how to network now, you could get some really incredible internships. And when you get those internships, that is the prime place to make amazing connections and get references and career investors. If you looked at Will McConnell, that first picture I showed you of one of the original 5, that's how he did it. He got an internship as a sophomore, junior, and senior all at the same place and had a job offer on the table 10 months before he graduated. So obviously you should be learning how to network now, because now is a time where you can go out and test it and do it in a safe place because you're not in a huge rush. But you can also do a lot of things. Be a leader on campus. Don't just worry about getting a 4.0. I'd rather you get a 3.2 and be the president of a club or volunteer for a charity. But also, I don't want you to spread yourself too thin. Sometimes you talk to people and they were involved in 11 things on campus, which means you weren't really involved in anything. You just spread yourself way too thin. So try to really bury your energy into 1 or 2 cool places outside of academics, and try to get some sort of leadership or any type of skill, even if it's unrelated. You want to work in politics and you work for a soup kitchen or whatever, or your fraternity or sorority, that's still great skills you're going to learn. And through something like I have, I would teach you how to really capture that on a resume really well. So be involved, be a leader, study abroad, take trips, do lots of things, be a well-rounded individual, because what a lot of us are looking for is people who are well-rounded, people who didn't just live in the library, people who went out and made a difference where they lived, and they made everywhere they went better. Here's a good one. I gotta answer this because I get it all the time. What does it say? It says, should I move to DC without a job? I would say no. I say you can network and build these opportunities from wherever you live. That's the beauty of email and the telephone. In a way, email has killed our generation in the sense of it's made us think that we can just sit and apply to jobs online. And if you use the internet and email the right way, use it as a way to connect and then talk to people on the phone, I still think you could build really great contacts. So no, I wouldn't just move to DC without a job. Unless you can afford it, I suppose it wouldn't hurt. But there are probably really great opportunities where you live. Some of the best advice I ever got, and I share this a lot, is one of my mentors told the DC Hopefuls Fellowship, we did a call-in, and he was like the guest speaker, and he said, often the best way to get to DC is to not be in DC. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about? And for days, I was like, what the hell is that guy talking about? So I called him. I was like, you got to explain it to me. And what he meant is he had encountered a lot of young people who just moved to DC, and then they weren't doing anything, and they were totally desperate, and they came off as desperate, and they were just waiting tables or doing something like that. And what they would have been better off doing is, hey, I'm interested in politics. Well, getting a campaign job in a local campaign office and getting some real world experience out there. They want to work in foreign affairs. Like maybe they would have been better off studying abroad a semester, or, working for Peace Corps, doing something like that. Sometimes you can go build really cool experiences other places, and that's going to help you build those connections that are going to get you to DC and the job you want. So never underestimate the opportunities you have where you live right now. So I'm glad someone asked that. Let me see. Have there ever been people you couldn't help? I mean, 95% of them, because I would argue they didn't really want to be helped because they didn't think they needed help. Or the real people, I think what you really meant is, I have had a few, less than 5, but there have been people who wanted to be a part of the fellowship, and ultimately I said they weren't going to be a good fit and wouldn't let them in because they expected me to do the work for them, and that makes me sound lazy, and I assure you I'm not. But ultimately you're going to be the reason you're successful. Even all your contacts and career investors, you're going to set them up to help you. And they were all men, which I think is fitting. These guys really didn't understand that, and they really thought it was my job to go get them interviews and opportunities. So no, I was not able to help them, but because they weren't really willing to help themselves. So, I can only provide the advice and the guidance. It's up to ultimately the person to go out and do it. Anyway, so yeah, there have been some people I definitely could not help. What are some other ones? Man, there's some good ones. Oh, what's the number one mistake on a resume you see? I wouldn't say number one, but I see, overall the biggest mistake on resumes I see is time. I just see so many resumes where it's so obvious the person didn't put very much time into it. I'm just sitting here thinking, you know what? If this was a grade in your class, I bet it would look better. Why would you go spend 8-10 hours studying for some test that's 10% of one class? I mean, ultimately it's going to matter very little for your GPA, yet you won't spend more than an hour on your resume. So I would say the biggest mistake I see is people aren't willing to put in the time. And then back to the number one secret, they don't ask for help. It's so obvious no one's ever looked at their resume for them or helped them with it because there's typos and silly mistakes. So very professional resumes have had a bunch of eyes on it. I think probably 12 to 14 people have ripped my resume to pieces, just covered it in red. And that's why it's really strong now, is because I've gotten a lot of eyes on it and I've gotten a lot of help with it. So, and I've spent a lot of time on it. It is not something you can build in an hour. So I would say that's probably the biggest mistake I see with resumes. If I go to law school locally, can I still get to DC? Of course you can. I know I'm not a lawyer, but I work with nothing but lawyers, and I know traditionally you kind of want to go to law school in the area you want to be in long term. But there's no reason you can't do what I was just talking about and find opportunities locally and build those connections in DC and come up here with that law degree. There's absolutely no reason you couldn't. Now, all things equal, if you could go to law school up here and that's where you want it to be, I would encourage it. But there's a million things to consider, money and opportunities and things like that. So it's not open and shut. Networking, like I said, is now easier because of the technology we have. Where I thought I saw, I don't know what I want to do. I have so many general interests. I feel like we kind of already answered that. I think my general advice would be going forward. I see some more questions, but we've definitely run out of time. So I hope this all was really helpful. I have a lot of good blogs on my website that answer a lot of these questions. Please check them out. And I hope a bunch of you have just clicked and signed up for the fellowship, but if not, please stay subscribed to the newsletter. I provide a lot of really cool, free, helpful stuff. I do want to help you all, whether you join or not. And yeah, I will answer your questions if I did not get to it, because I see some other ones that we've run out of time. But it was great being a part of this with you guys. It means the absolute world to me. I feel like I've come a long way that there's so many of you all still on this call. This is really cool. So anyway, have a wonderful, wonderful day, evening, and I hope to be speaking to very many of you very soon. All right.